You're watching Alabama's WVUA News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Tamika Alexander. It's been a rainy day across the state of Alabama. When is the rain going to let up, and could we expect more this week? Let's get a first check on Alabama's home team forecast. Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott joins us now. Richard, messy Monday out there.
Yeah, Tamika, a good Monday evening to you, by the way. We're dealing with a lot of rain on radar. In fact, kind of catching a break this evening across much of central and west Alabama. You notice additional shower storms starting to develop over southeast Mississippi and southwest Alabama. Those are lifting off towards the north and east. But the heavier rain this evening happening down over Marengo County now. Northwest Marengo County, a little rain happening down there. But again, nothing too heavy in terms of shower and thunderstorm activity. These storms are increasing as they move off towards the north and east. Again, we saw that area dry weather move in to the storms earlier today. You notice on radar and satellite over the past several hours had this big batch of rain kind of dilute away as a dry slot moved in from the southwest. But more showers and storms starting to develop to our southwest now. Those will likely intensify as we move off towards the north and east. Not really expecting a risk of organized severe weather. We'll watch the radar trends closer. It could be a small spin-up tornado tonight. But again, we'll watch the radar trends. I think that threat is very low. Tomorrow morning, no issues with severe weather. Talking cloudy skies or bus stop forecast, upper 60s. By 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Showers still going to be in the area, so take the rain gear with you. But what about the chance of rain as we go into the afternoon hours? When's the rain going to move out? Your forecast is coming up.
Thanks, Richard. Today's rain has left parts of Alabama underwater. Areas of the Tennessee Valley saw flash flooding tonight. A shopping center in Muscle Shoals was flooded this afternoon, and a car was submerged in a nearby ditch. Emergency workers blocked off several roads in the area. Streets in Tuscaloosa were also barricaded. Florence Fire Rescue had to rescue 3 boys this afternoon after their truck got stuck in Sweetwater Creek. Police say the teens were mudding when a flash flood rose water levels. All 3 are doing fine tonight. Last spring, the state legislature passed a budget without providing proper funding. They're hoping that a proposed constitutional amendment will do just that. Tomorrow, polls will open for Alabamians to vote for or against the Alabama Trust Fund Amendment. But what are you saying when you choose yes or no? WVUA's Molly Mitchell breaks down the amendment in tonight's Election Watch.
Alabama's trust fund is royalties from gas and oil drilling off the Gulf Coast. The state's rainy day fund is the interest from these royalties. The state is allowed to take 75% of the interest each year to use it wherever it needs. This amendment would allow the state to draw directly from the trust fund. So what does a yes vote mean?
Yes means that the state legislature will be allowed to take $145 million for 3 consecutive years from the Alabama Trust Fund and put it into the general fund.
That money will be used to close up a huge hole in the general fund budget and allow things such as Medicaid, our Department of Corrections, and many other state government agencies to be level funded going for the next 3 years.
State Representative Chris England stresses that the money is needed to protect government agencies, and Alabama will have the funds to meet its 1/3 financial obligation to Medicaid recipients. But what does voting no mean for the deficit?
No means that the gap that exists in the budget already will have to be met by either cuts in services or some other revenue source. The possibility that there's another revenue source sitting out there is nil, which means that more than likely it will result in cuts.
This money just comes out of the trust fund with no plan to repay it. That's the first thing. Second thing, there's other savings measures that we can take. And lastly is we still have nearly $600 million that has been borrowed from the trust fund previously that's still yet to be repaid.
County Commissioner Don Wallace proposes offering early retirement to state employees, reform Medicaid, and consolidate inefficient state agencies. Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Molly Mitchell, WVUA News.
Polls open tomorrow morning at 7 and close at 7 p.m. Now to news out of South Alabama. Police are searching for a missing 15-year-old girl. Officials say her name is Aline Merez Lander, and she was last seen earlier today in Dothan. Officials believe she was kidnapped, and they identified the suspect as Charles Parton. Officials believe they may be traveling in a light blue 1994 Mercury Villager van. She has brown hair, is 5 feet 5 inches tall, and weighs 140 pounds. You can contact your local law enforcement agency if you have any information on this case. Well, a crash in Tuscaloosa County sent a woman to the hospital after a brick was thrown through her windshield. According to Tuscaloosa Metro Homicide Unit Captain Loyd Baker, it happened Sunday night around 9 o'clock on the southbound lane of 2059 near the Kings Mill Road overpass. Baker says a woman and her 3 children were in the vehicle when the large brick was thrown from the overpass. She was hit in the chest and neck. This afternoon, police arrested 16-year-old Shane Adam Herren and Jordan Isaiah Price, both from Condell. They are being charged as adults with first-degree assault. WVUA's Courtney Highfield spoke to residents in the Kings Mill Road area who say this isn't the first time something like this has happened.
A 5-pound brick may not sound like much, but when thrown off an overpass and into traffic, it can cause more damage than you would think.
A brick was thrown from the overpass near Kings Mill Road, which came through her windshield, striking her in the chest and neck. She was seriously injured and had injuries to her face, her chest, and she underwent surgery last night, and she's still being treated at DCH.
According to Baker, investigators believe the suspects didn't stop there.
We feel that there were other objects thrown from that bridge prior to this lady being hit, and even after she was hit, other objects were thrown.
And Mary Cooley, a longtime resident of the area, says this isn't the first incident.
Rock throwing's been going on for about a month now. And a dog has been poisoned. It's been bad up here. I've been living in. It's awful.
But Cooley says she hopes it is the last, so she won't have to live in fear any longer.
You're not supposed to have to live in fear. You just have to remember what you do to somebody else, you're gonna get it.
Reporting in Tuscaloosa County, Courtney Highfield, WVUA News.
According to Brad Fisher, spokesperson for DCH Regional Medical Center, the victim is still in critical condition. Her name has not yet been released. Now an update on a story we first brought you Friday night. A Tuscaloosa family is mourning the loss of their child tonight after she was hit by a car. Tuscaloosa police say it happened around 6:30 Friday on 15th Street and 33rd Avenue. 4-year-old Zykel Williams was hit after she ran into the street. Police say the child's aunt was going to the store across the street and the child ran into the street. Today, family members put up a small memorial in her honor where the crash happened. Williams attended preschool in Tuscaloosa, and today parents were saddened to hear about what happened.
I was shocked, very shocked.
My prayers go out to the family, and I'm sorry for their loss. It's just, I couldn't believe it when I heard it.
The driver will not be charged because authorities determined she could not avoid hitting the child. If you would like to help the family, there will be a fundraiser tomorrow night from 8:30 until 11 at Archibald and Woodrose on Highway 82. In world news, the Middle East has been in the spotlight for days now, beginning in Libya, where protesters attacked the U.S. diplomatic compound, killing 4 people, including U.S. Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens. The University of Alabama system has connections to the Libyan leadership. Now, last November, former U.S. Professor Abdul Rahim El-Khalib was elected as Libya's interim prime minister. El-Khalib was an electrical engineering professor who began his tenure at UA in 1985. He stayed at the capstone for nearly 20 years, being involved in the faculty senate and serving as a representative for the Muslim community. According to officials at the Embassy of Libya in Washington, D.C., El-Khalib was appointed to draft a new constitution and provide leadership until the general elections. Fast forward to the general elections, and a second university professor with ties to Alabama has been selected to lead Libya. Last Wednesday, Mustafa al-Bushagar became Prime Minister of Libya. This came one day after the attacks. Al-Bushagar is also a former professor at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. According to Director of Public Affairs for UAH, Ray Gardner, Al-Bushagar taught engineering at the school for about 17 years before leaving around 2002. Al-Bushagar's daughter says the men first met in Libya and continued their friendship in Alabama. Well, in consumer news tonight, Apple's new iPhone is setting records. Apple says iPhone 5 orders topped 2 million in 24 hours, and they completely sold out of pre-order phones. Analysts are predicting in-store phones to sell out by Sunday. Some people have already begun lining up in front of one store in Manhattan. Even though the pre-orders were paid in advance, some phones won't be shipped out until October. Well, competition is heating up in the technology world just days after Apple announced the release of the iPhone 5. There are reports Samsung is about to release the Galaxy S4. It's expected to come out in February. The new Galaxy screen is expected to be 5 inches, which is 1 inch larger than its rival iPhone 5 and will also use the 4G networks. Both were in a recent court battle over a phone design. The judge ruled in Apple's favor, saying Samsung violated Apple's patents. Well, when WVUA News at 10 returns, a heartwarming story. A soldier's body is found more than 6 decades after he is killed in action. Now his family is finally able to lay him to rest. And the top-ranked Crimson Tide prepares for the Florida Atlantic game this afternoon. Gary Harris will have the latest in Alabama's home team sports.